I saw something online today, and I don't know if it's a joke or real, but the black bottle.
I don't know anything about it.
It sounds like it's moldy. One of our neighbors gave us the garlic, and we put it in a bag at work for big phone.
Bill Knowles. I said I'm Jackie. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Didn't say anything.
I'll get you one. Hey guys, how you doing back here? Hey Bill. Just waiting.
Yeah, I told him. Actually, setting up some timing on it.
I am Mike Bell. Everybody works makeup.
What's on it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Find out for me.
Yeah. No,
It's a silk.
Really, he did. He was quitting on place. He was quitting on place. That is disgraceful. Right? It's unbelievable. What's his name? Ezekiel.
Card for Liz that we're signing.
Councilman.
Sit down.
Get over it. You lost. Yeah. Hey, you need a strategic one. It's above, it's on the hill. You know, this was that birthday yesterday.
I embarrassed him.
Did you?
Were you there? Not you. Were you there?
No.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Was that really?
While we were in line, he mentioned that it was his birthday. Really? Don't do that. What I'm going to do with that, right? That's right. I thought it appropriate to tell everybody, and then encourage them to, in the absence of a birthday cake, to gather their dessert, cake or pie, but not food. And so we sang happy birthday.
No.
And they did. And we did. I had to tell them, his name is Greg. And then, of course, you know, when you get to this one part.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if we could do that.
I got trolled.
Oh, wow. I think you can ask John to give away.
That
was nice, wasn't it?
Donna.
Good. Who is most central? Extension cords are running with lights. They win. Yeah, they win. Everybody don't do that. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe that. Never hear of this before. They write it down. Three of them verified with us. I don't know, that's one Jonathan.
We also have Ross right here.
Yeah, it has a fish microphone too. Yeah. So we're live right now.
No, it's just this guy. He keeps.
She's filing against the Secretary of Defense in the city of Trinidad.
If you're doing that, you watch it on now. Everything's going to be on there.
Wow.
That's crazy. I still do it on the weekend. Sometimes I
He wants us to give him the training. And connect water to it.
I've heard of a lot.
You can get it on internet.
Not so much.
The internet. And you can watch it all.
That would be interesting. That would be an interesting
I want to use it. I'm going to do right
And they
channel, but
came
contact
and
them to the calls.
that,
And then I
they were at a point where they
generate
this was
more
about to
revenue
do.
and
There's nothing more.
then stuff and say, you know what, this covers it
So what
all.
did she do? Start to know.
There's a space.
He lived in
Other.
just the season.
Yeah, in his thing, he's announcing all sorts of felonies.
One-on-one, and then also in July. So, I just can't get over and get that Wi-Fi password.
Right, exactly what I.
It's in, it's yeah. That's a
I don't know what there is to say.
Unless you should have some.
I ran out, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because when they come back.
That's right.
And the news just went out to me.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta say something about you. I love those times.
And calls it rocket. That was unprecedented.
He is,
Never ceases to.
he needs to be.
By the way, I see you.
Someone stuck one on my car.
You know what, though, I do agree that they continue to push us to get to a dog, they're gonna get
No,
bitten.
I didn't.
Yeah, I heard that.
Was it idiot?
An allergy too.
He threatened to blow my.
Yeah.
I understand that.
That's better. Take care of it.
Yes.
No, you're fine, they were attending all the news. I will, yeah, I'm looking for that. I'm looking for it, I'm reading too much. Well, it's right up my alley. Oh, that, now that's. Yeah, exactly. No problem.
That's
Good. I haven't talked about this, they understand her all much.
How did things go out? Or the trolley ride and everything?
Oh,
Were the screens and everything working?
no, the screen didn't. It was good.
You still not secure because of the.
It was good.
Thank God.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
I know, not really today. It's the Monday gust.
Yeah.
It's hard when you get interrupted all the time.
Oh, no, yeah, I guess I do.
You need to go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. Today is September the 7th, September the 19th, 2017. The time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad will now come to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please. Good.
Donato,
Here.
Fletcher.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Matei.
Here.
Miles.
Here.
Torres. Rico.
Here. Are there any changes or additions about the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
could we take a moment at the beginning of our meeting now, a moment of silence in recognition of the passing of Mrs. Wong?
Sure. Thank you. If you would take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. For those of you in the audience, Councilman Torres, her mother passed away here recently, and that was the reason for that moment of silence. So motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Second? Okay, call vote please.
Donato,
Here. Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Here. Before we get started, I just wanted, and I'm sure a lot of people already here have heard, we have a big announcement coming up in the newspapers, and the Space to Create project that we've been anticipating for the last couple of years will become a reality. About 3 weeks ago, Ms. Marshall, myself, and Andrew Michelson from ArtSpace traveled to Denver to do a presentation for CHAPA for the 9% tax credits. Went well, went extremely well. And just as of last Thursday, we received notification, and I'm just going to read some information here for the audience. It says on Thursday, September the 14th, we received notice that we have been awarded the CHAPA 9% tax credit, $895 annually for 10 years. We expect to be able to sell these credits at the current market rate of approximately 87 cents to 92 cents on the dollar, which translates into about $10,500,000 for the project. So that being said, everyone worked very, very hard on this project that was involved. From the beginning, we had people that traveled to Loveland to begin to experience what Space to Create would be like. They came back very enthused and got a lot of people jazzed about the entire project here in Trinidad. From there on, it went on to a survey, multiple meetings, multiple travels, and after that, just an awful lot of legwork. Ms. Marshall, I really have to commend her for all of the work that you've done on this, all the traveling that you've done. I'm sure you had some sleepless nights and a lot of concerns because, as I'm not sure how many of you know, but last year at this same time we had applied for the same tax credits, but we failed. We had to change the designation a little bit and had to change a couple of other items, which we went ahead and did. And I think that was the big reason for that we were able to bring this, to fruition. We did meet with CHAPA about 2 months ago, I think it was. We sat with CHAPA, went to Denver, Tara and I, and Mike, or who else was there? Mike? And we sat, they gave us some direction that we felt comfortable with, and just put it all together. And just some good groundwork, legwork, a lot of positive thinking on behalf of everybody. And I really want to commend this council for taking a huge step forward. We appropriated $1.6 million toward this project. This project, the $1.6 million amounts to about 12% of our general fund budget. So that was one thing that I mentioned when I gave my presentation. That's a risk that probably most municipalities would not be willing to take. So that's why I said I must commend this council for taking that risk, and it paid off. So thank you for the work, thank you for the voting, and we hope to probably break ground when springtime.
Hopefully.
And we're maybe, as well, maybe, the Ask Art Trek of the week, of the month this year. We may be planning a get together downtown, just a simple celebration. One thing that we want to do when we do break ground is we want to invite the governor, people from Jaffa, people from OEDIT, DOLA, and just, there are numerous people that we have, our partners that we have, some of the funding partners we're talking about, people from the Betcher Foundation. So we want to try to invite as many of these people as we can down here to participate in our groundbreaking. Because I think we're going to make a heck of a groundbreaking for that night. Okay. Just to let you know, we do have 2 items coming out concerning this in the newspaper. One is something from me from the office of the mayor, and also we also have a press release that's also coming out in the newspaper. It's coming out simultaneously, and I believe the newspapers have both agreed to put it on. So, thank you for that. All right, let's move on. Item 2, policy items and staff reports. Item A, Monument Lake proposals.
You've all received the proposals that we received on this, and
Yes.
hopefully you've had a chance to review them, but just given the nature of discussion of what your pros and cons are, I'd like to suggest you do a special meeting. So whenever it would be convenient to you, I think it's something we need to move on fairly quickly.
Yeah. I think probably we'll not only have a special meeting, but we'll probably have an executive session for discussion on that. I had a little bit of discussion with Audra about that, so we'll probably plan that. Pretty good on quick. So might even be next week. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Anything else on that?
No.
Item 2B, golf course clubhouse lease.
This was a lease that you gave to the clubhouse, to the golf course board, and it was for a 1-year term, but it allowed it to be renewed for an additional 1-year term. And I met with 2 of the board members, I think about a week or so ago, and they would like to just renew it as is with just a couple minor changes to it for wording purposes that we have.
Okay.
And maybe in the future, get more involved in the nuts and bolts of the agreement and what's expected by the city and what they think they can do.
Okay. Go ahead and bring that forward, probably next meeting. And,
So you generally agree with that? Just
I do. I
do.
don't think we have a problem with that. We just want to fine tune a couple words in there. We'll see what it looks like. Okay. Item C, retail marijuana per pound cultivation fee, transported and, okay, I just want to leave it at that. That part's mine. What do you have on that, Greg?
As we've been looking at the ordinance that puts in effect the $25 per pound fee, we realize that there's really a need for some clarification on what the city's expectation is for when they weigh a plant, how they weigh the plant, and that also then serves as the basis for what the payment of the fee is. Right now, we don't clarify whether they should weigh it wet or dry. It only talks about when it leaves the facility. So what we're proposing is to add a simple sentence, couple sentences that say that the plant is to be weighed upon harvest, and they'll have to weigh the whole plant, and that will be the basis for the $25 per pound fee.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or thoughts on that?
Are you proposing that they weigh the entire plant, or
Yes.
just the product that is harvested that is sold?
The whole plant.
Okay.
And then that way it would be the green weight, so it would be consistent. All of the places would be doing the same thing.
Well, that being said, with some of the plants that may, produce several times within its lifespan, how do you propose weighing a plant that you just take it out of the entire bucket, or if it's in a system? I mean, I'm assuming these are going to be questions that they're going to ask.
I would say probably if they, I don't know, if they cut it at the bottom. That
Yeah.
might
I think they harvest the plant. When they harvest the plant, it all comes out. I don't believe they cut it and let it grow back. I
I
believe
don't think so. I think
They-
Right.
cross the
Well, you
line.
can't. It won't.
Okay, and the banding kind of requires the harvesting of the whole plant. Otherwise, I think they probably kind of lose track of the banding issue.
I had an employee who left, I'm sorry, I had an employee who left to go work for one of the dispensaries that has a grow facility, and his job title was trimmer.
But the trimmers are the ones, as I understand it, who process the plants when they're harvested. They separate the buds
first they pull it
away.
out?
Yes, buds are separate, leaves are separate, and then stems are separate. I think that's what the trimmers do.
It's, to me, becoming quite apparent that we are not horticulturalists. Obviously have no idea what we're talking about, and perhaps what might be a prudent course of action is to confer with someone in the industry who can describe how that process works.
Okay.
And get some kind of knowledgeable direction with the decision we're making so that we're not so arbitrary and capricious in our planning.
Right. The only reason I ask is because when we went on our tour, one of the owners, if I recall correctly, stated that the plant only has one life cycle. Now, I may be wrong, but that's what I recalled him saying. So that's why.
Oh, that's right.
But I don't know how many times that one plant can produce throughout its life cycle. That's my question. And I don't know this answer because I'm not a
The tour
horticulturalist.
we took,
I think, we done? Okay. Obviously, if we are weighing a finished product, it's going to weigh, in my opinion and my understanding, considerably less than would be the entire plant and the like, in which case we are shortchanging ourselves. And the reason, in my mind, that I think it's appropriate to justify weighing the entire plant, including the non-used or non-sellable portions, is that this is not so much a tax as it is a fee.
right,
And the intention of this fee is to go back into the water system and to reinvigorate the water system. And it seems to me that the entire plant benefits from the water system, not just a finished product that's shipped for production. And that being said, in my mind, it seems logical to base that weight on the initial entire weight of a plant which has consumed our water resource.
and that was our intention in writing.
So you're talking about the root ball and everything?
I'm talking about, well, not a bucket of dirt. That's why we need to talk to those people, but you know,
Sure.
you understand my point.
Yeah, gotcha.
Thank you.
Pat, do you have any questions?
I do not.
I just have to agree with Councilman Matei on that.
Actually, I do have a question. How come we only have 24,000 in grow revenues?
I think
people
part of-
reporting.
I think part of it is the fact that we don't define it.
So if you,
Some people may be
So that goes to
based
48
on just
now
the
with the
buds, and
ordinance.
some on the wet and some on the dry. And
Mhm.
well, right, but even if we do this new method, it's probably gonna double, maybe. Right?
Probably more than
At
double.
one point.
Those stocks are
If
pretty
it
big.
triples, we're still under $100,000 or $72,000. At one point, one single grower came to us and said, based on $30 a pound, he would be generating over $1 million. So, are people reporting their grows? Craig, you and I talked about this.
yeah, I think we do have to come up with a better way to do that. And I think by having a consistent weighing method, will we have a way to audit?
Okay.
That's really what we're trying to get to. It's a way to be able to verify and check.
The other question that I had on that was that it talked about shipping it. Now, you know, I think these grow facilities are able to ship within Trinidad. So I think that just shipping it outside of Trinidad is, but I think anybody that is included, that they ship into the general local area should also be part of that.
I think they were incorporated into that last amendment we made to the ordinance, though, weren't they?
Look at that.
Where no matter where it was distributed to, it had an excise fee.
It's when it leaves the facility.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, this sounds like we need to get someone to give us to talk to somebody maybe from either a horticulturist or,
Okay.
go from there.
What we need is a scientific explanation of the process.
Right.
So that we know where it is most appropriate and certainly fair
Sure.
to attach the fees that we intend to do.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Not for me.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, petitions or communications, oral or written.
Susan Martin?
Good evening,
State your name, please.
Susan Martin, Holy Innocents Catholic Church. I went the other day to, and some of the council people were there, to the first meeting of the citizens about the homeless, transient, increased crime kind of stuff that's going on in this community. One of the things that was briefly brought up by Pat first, and then I addressed it because I have more direct knowledge of the ACTS committee. ACTS was instituted by the Ministerial Alliance here in this town. The whole idea was to help people in need. And initially, people were supposed to fill out an application if they were going to ask for assistance through this group. They were supposed to supply a name, contacts. It was supposed to be done through the police department so that there was a way to verify that these people were valid individuals and weren't running for the police or anything else like that. That part of the process never happened. And as a result, there's been a lot of people who have taken advantage of ACTS. It initially came about because we had these homeless, transient individuals going from church to church begging for assistance. And it was felt that there needs to be a way to centralize all of that. I've recently heard that the city was debating about getting involved with ACTS. I think it's a fantastic idea for the city to be involved, where there would be one centralized way of helping everyone, or helping as much as we can, but these people need to be vetted. There are at least 2 different bands of gypsies that work Trinidad. They are very efficient about scamming. There's other individuals here that have scammed numerous people in this town. We had a couple with a 4-month-old baby. Father and I felt for it hook, line, and sinker to get them put up at Frontier. We went ahead. Found out they had another guy come and stay with them in their room with a dog, and they were good buddies of the people staying 2 doors down. They were part of this gypsy band. It happens. We need to find a way to be efficient with our money. The other thing that was brought up at this meeting is about all of the transients standing on the different street corners around. There has to be a way to encourage the public, and I think that the best way would be through the newspaper. Don't do that. We're going to centralize things. They are going to be offered help through ACTS. I personally carry a yellow sticky pad with me. I have phone numbers that I write down on various ones. If it says, I'm a vet, I need help, I need whatever, I write down the veteran's number. The other thing that needs to be done in this town is encourage somehow, if we have any kind of pull, or anyone has any pull, to get Salvation Army to come back here. The homeless problem and the problem of people needing food and supplies without Salvation Army here has exponentially grown. We need something like that going on here. We have a soup kitchen. Monday through Friday, 1 hour a day. People get hungry besides that. I can't tell you how many times people come on the weekend. They're hungry. They need supplies. And so somehow, if the city can help with that, it shouldn't fall on just the churches to take care of these people. This is a community problem, and we need to all pool our resources in the most effective way to take care of this problem. I read online, I was curious, okay, what did Denver do about all of the homeless camping along the South Platte and along Cherry Creek? Well, they instituted a no camping in the urban areas ordinance. That is now in court. And what started to happen, these same people that were being run out of those areas, like under our bridge here, were suddenly starting to camp in private homes on the property. People look out and find them camping on their own personal property. That's not an answer either. There's another thing in Denver. It's called Step 13. They changed the name now. It's called Step Denver. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. It was started, I believe, in '83 by an ex-boxer and addict himself. It's basically based on the 12-step AA program, but it's called Step 13, or that was the original name, because this is for over 21 men only, but we would have to have one for men, one for women, where they can live in the facility. They're expected to work. As they contribute more, their living facilities increase. They start out like in a bunk room. And as they contribute more to their upkeep there, they get to go to the second floor. Living facilities is a little better. By the time you get to the third floor, you have a private room. Fantastic idea. It's online. I didn't have permission ability to print up anything for you guys. But it's a workable program. If it started in '83 and it's still working, it works.
It's been 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sure, absolutely.
One more quick thing.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
On the corner of Kansas and Nevada is the AA meeting place. Through them, they actually have a sober house. And so we have a start here, but it's very minimal. It's something that with additional resources could be expanded. We've hired workers from there. People don't need a handout. They need to work. They need to learn to work. They need to contribute to this community. There's plenty of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Several times I've heard you give the acronym, and I can't get it.
ACTS.
Yes, what does that stand for?
It stands for Assisting Our Community Through Service.
Thank you.
And it started as a partnership of faith-based organization and community members, seeking to steward our resources to effectively help those in need in our community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Is it Victoria Sanchez? Please state your name as well.
I'm Victoria Sanchez, and I'm here to represent the homeless people. Okay, I'm not very prepared for this, so don't know what I'm doing. But we would like to talk about the shelter part, like the East Street place or the convent shelter. We earmark some of the marijuana tax money instead of it going just for tourists, because I believe if you have to do something with the homeless people in order to have people come here. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. Kind of nervous, so. And I wanted to ask about Noah's Ark, the old Noah's Ark. What are you guys going to do with it?
That's been sold.
It's been sold? Because I heard it was going to be torn down to expand the field, the soccer field.
It's just being going to be torn down. That's all I can say at this point.
All right, well, anyway, the reason why I said that is because, you know, you see a lot of the homeless people out there with animals, you know, but, you know, they say, well, how can you feed your animals if you can't feed yourself? But a lot of people need those companionships. But then if we have a shelter, we have to have a shelter that can accommodate for the animals too. Okay, that makes sense. Since you guys already made $400,000 for the new Noah's Ark, you know, I think we should have something done for us. You know what that means. Sorry, I'm nervous. And then there's another place thing that I wanted to mention, like a drug rehabilitation kind of like outpatient thing, but not like, you know, where they have over there the human services and stuff. This would be like housing. Like there's lots of housing available. I mean, there's empty houses everywhere that we can get some money for that, and then people can live in it and become like, you know, rehabilitated, so that way they can reunite into the society or whatever, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in Albuquerque, they have it too. They have it where you pay $75 a month, you know, and you're like roommates, like four to an apartment, like 3-bedroom apartment. But it's $75 a month, and you have to do the drug testing, you have to go to counseling and all that. But I think that would help, because there's nothing. There's nothing. And that's all I got to say.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Tom Murphy.
Good evening, council members. I'm going to bring this up. That's just too short.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, I love it. I do come up here just to do that. For the record, my name's Thomas Murphy. A couple examples just recently, guys. The Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, was caught on a hot mic, and then in a restaurant, 2 of the president's lawyers were overheard talking. There was an issue here 4 or 5 years ago, and I forget who the city attorney was at the time, but I got a nasty letter because, you know, we have the camera on and it picks things up. I think I framed that letter. But anyway, you know, you're live now, and so the thing is, I have to turn it on early in order to do this. What I'm telling you is, we've come a long way in the last 4 or 5 years. There's not the contention it was. And reporters don't intentionally try to catch people on hot mics. We turn our equipment on and people say things. I mean, I've caught people talking about health issues that they have, and it's at a point where you really can't edit it out. So I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm just trying to tell you, when you come in here, please be aware that I'm turning it on about 10 minutes before that it's live. So, because I'm not going to be able to edit it out. The second thing is, I'm excited because we have so many people running for council, and look where we've come in the last few years. And so it's exciting because so many people care and know, and so we're going to be interviewing people starting next week. So if you would encourage people to watch it, that would be great. It's Trinidad Times TV on YouTube. And what I'm doing is, basically we're going to ask everybody the same questions, and then we'll do follow-up questions, so it'll be slightly different, but it'll be fair. And I'm not going to release the interviews until everybody's done, because they just watch it and then they would know. And it's not anything, you know, that hasn't been asked before, so I just want you to know. We're also going to do the Meet the Candidates. We'll be live on YouTube, so that's going to be a first. It's always been on the radio and stuff like that. But I think when people can see a face with the voice and what they have to say, that'll make a difference. We're moving forward, and the momentum is going to just grow, especially with the announcement you just made. Attitude is half the battle with what we do. So I'm excited, and I just, the big thing is, though, don't embarrass yourself by catching me on a hot mic, and I don't want any more nasty letters from the attorneys. So turn it off.
If you're here, we have to assume it's on, right?
Yes, and it's the red lights mean that they're on.
Got it.
It's easier to turn them off, but you know, it's not intentional. Reporters don't do that. It's just
That's your job.
when the lawyers for the president are in a restaurant talking, the reporter did his job, you know, of taking notes. So be aware.
No, thank you. I did not know, I didn't realize it was on 10
Yeah.
minutes early. I don't think it's anything very.
It looks like a microphone, but
Maybe
it's a
things
camera
I
and
wouldn't
microphone.
want, you know, to talk to all the Trinidad.
Right. So just be aware.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, on to item number 4, consent agenda approval. Item A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of September the 5th, 2017. Item B, which is the bills. Item C, which is payroll now, September the 9th through September the 22nd, 2017. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei,
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. We have no public hearings or none, no unfinished business. On to item 7A, which is miscellaneous business. Approval of Sursa property casualty insurance quotes for 2018. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Any discussion on that?
I have some questions if no one else has yet.
That amount, just to let the public know,
cost the city will cost the city $611,000, $611,524 for the year. So that's what our cost for our insurance. So it's pretty costly. Questions? Mr. Dick?
I have.
Ms. Fletcher?
Has this contract changed in any significant language from last year's contract or last contract that we've had? Because I read through it and it's very complex, but yet I'm trying to recall if there's anything that's different that we should just be aware of from the previous contract.
There's none. It represents basically the exact same language, same deductible, $1,000 deductible per occurrence, both for work comp and property casualty.
And I thought that was a great deductible, $1,000.
That's pretty low.
Yes. That was my.
I do, and I'm not saying I don't quite understand the trend in the numbers. For instance, and maybe that just means I don't understand insurance and the way CIRSA works. Property casualty or loss impact from 15 to 17 is 94 to 55. Does loss impact mean how much they had to pay out in property casualty?
It's a formula
Okay.
based on what they had.
But it
to-
represents how risky it was,
Mhm,
okay?
correct.
All right, so it goes from 94 to 55 for property casualty.
Right.
So, not quite half, but maybe 40%. But our premium went from 337 to 373. Now, that's not the end of my question. On the other hand, our workers' comp, instead of going down, went up. It went from 40 to 60, that's a 50% increase. But our premium went from 336 down to 238. So, how does...
Because
I mean,
lots
I know when I have a collision, my insurance rates go up, and if I have a clean record, my insurance rates stay the same or go down. This seems to be different.
Loss experience is only part of that insurance quote. The other part is based on what they're insuring. So they're insuring city assets and the value of those assets, the value of the contents. So as our values of our assets increase, that also has an effect then on our quote. So property casualty, for instance. Work comp, it's based on loss experience as well as our payroll. So if our payroll goes up, loss experience goes down, it's adjusted accordingly.
Right.
And then keep in mind, the rates have a lot to do with the fact that we're in a pool, and so they're not just looking at City of Trinidad. In all instances, it's a pool. So similar to health insurance, they look at our region and decide what kind of risk they bear with our region. With respect to CIRSA, they're looking at the entire pool. What is it going to take to cover this entire pool?
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
CIRSA covers us in all insurance concerns, true?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we're paying.
Except for health insurance.
Except for, I understand that, there might be liability for the hailstorms and the damaged vehicles and employees that get hurt or workman's comp. I mean, it's a very complex issue. I'm not gonna pretend to understand insurance. But I will say it's very complex, and basically what we're paying, doing the math, is like $50,000 a month for that coverage for 1 year. Given the volume and the breadth of the coverage that we get, and the fact that we are in a pool, and that we have no competitive offerings to the contrary, we almost don't have a choice.
Yeah. I'm just curious how it works.
No, I understand, and I don't poo-poo your question, I'm just saying that here we are.
I do have a few questions. One thing that I've known since before even coming into the private industry, are we participating in the loss control techniques that is offered?
We are. It's actually required. It's not just offered, but it's required in a lot of instances. They have standards that we have to achieve annually, biannually, mostly in that frequency.
The other question is, if we were to take a little higher deductible, would it reduce our rates in any way?
We looked at that not last year, but the year before, and it wouldn't reduce it enough to make up that difference based on the number of claims. It's pretty simple. Just with property casualty, if we have 25 claims, we know that's $25,000. in deductible costs that we have to pay. If you take that times 1.5 times more, if our premium isn't decreased by that much, it just, the math doesn't work out.
Okay.
So we have looked at that.
I know, like in the private industry, and this may be part of the answer, or your answer to my first question might be related to this. Safety meetings for work comp savings, is that part of that loss control techniques
It is.
that you're talking about?
It is.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we're having safety meetings on a regular basis.
We're working hard towards getting that safety committee regrouped and up and where it needs to be again. We're definitely getting all of our trainings accomplished throughout the city. Can we do more? Sure, we can do more.
Okay.
It's just a matter of carving out that program to make sure that we get that training done.
Okay. What was our audit score in 2017? You know what that was?
Oh, I didn't bring that with me.
Because it didn't say anything, but that was curious what that was.
I did not bring that with me.
No big deal, but I was just kind of wondering what our score was.
For 2017, they're actually doing some of that auditing now.
And the last thing, and it said that maybe it's just because there wasn't any there, but the loss control credits, there weren't any in the from 2017.
There were minimal loss control credits on that, on about the 3rd or 4th page of what was provided to you.
Okay.
It was minimal though,
Okay.
a few $1,000s.
Yeah, very good. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? None? Okay, call vote please.
Donato?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 7B, selection of an engineering firm for the design of the water infrastructure replacement project. This was to the recommended GMS consulting engineers from Colorado Springs, not to exceed $196,500. I'll let Mike, well, let's go ahead and make a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mike, go ahead and please give us some information.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Basically, we put out a request for proposal. This is on our $3 million infrastructure grant you approved last week, last meeting. 756,000 and change for the sewer slip lining. This is for the water portion of the project, same area of downtown. Of course, with that, we'll need engineering services. This is more complex than just slip lining existing mains. We want to size the mains correctly. We want them to last for the future, so we want the proper engineering. We went out for requests for proposals. We went to Denver Post, Colorado Springs Gazette, Pueblo Chieftain, the Chronicle, and sent it out, the advertisement to companies that have expressed interest in engineering for us. We received 6 proposals. They were reviewed by staff. There was actually 7 of us that read all the proposals, scored them based on general professional experience, project experience, their presentation, and we had the criteria laid out. They're sub-consultants. We all ranked them. They came in, took the top 3, and we called references. We received great references for GMS and good references for all of them that we called. There were no bad. So with that being said, we would like to go with GMS after reviewing and get this ball rolling on the water portion.
Just for the public's information, the area that's going to take up is going to be 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Streets from Hyde to Chestnut. That's the map showed anyhow.
Correct.
Any questions for council? Mr. Matei?
I have none.
Ms. Fletcher?
I just thought it was wider than this first phase. I thought it went up beyond 4th Street.
No, this is the original map.
My mistake, yeah. Now, in the next phase, where is it gonna go?
We want to continue to radiate out. We haven't planned the next phase, but this engineering will give us a good benchmark to see how far we can go out with the next request. But basically, the old town is where it all started.
Yeah.
Those are the oldest pipes, so that's where we want to start.
And I recall it's going by the need, the earliest pipes that were down
That's
first
the
replaced.
plan, as we engineer it, what makes sense, but correct, the cast iron pipes first.
No, it sounds like we're on track. You always said at the beginning, even the retreat 2 years ago, there's going to be about 16 city blocks. And as I did my count on the map, it's right there at 16 blocks. So it's time to get that plan moving from those other funds that we have acquired.
Yeah, you had 3 submissions, and
Actually,
I guess,
6. We had 6 submissions.
oh, then the top 3.
Top
okay.
3, yeah.
And I guess you scored them. I know it's a pretty complex process, but I'm curious, was GMS really the lowest bid, or, I know it's not always the best deal to take the lowest bid.
Yeah, it's tough to bid professional services, so it's not to exceed. They were the top, of course, the top 3 were the top 3 costs. We had costs ranging from $86,000 to $196,000. So actually, GMS was the top.
Okay.
But
staff
we're
is
gonna,
comfortable with that, yeah.
we're gonna negotiate with them when we do the contract.
So you're gonna get
based
more
on-
work out of them for the 196 than you would out of the others?
Right, as we looked at the 86, we don't feel like they put everything
Yeah,
that was
you get-
required into the project.
Or junior people or whatever.
Correct.
Fair enough.
Mr. Bernard?
I just have one question. Probably Mike worked hard on this and the whole staff worked on this, and you know, I agree with going with a firm like this that's so close to Trinidad. I mean, since I've been sitting on council, we have had engineers come out of Grand Junction and those places like that, like when we done on the commercial street, we always ran into a problem. They were gone in Grand Junction. It was hard to get them down here. So my hat off to you, Mike, and whoever helped you with this, because at least these guys are only an hour away, but we do run into problems. We could call them and say, hey, we got a problem down here, and we have to, you know, lose 2 hours of work instead of a whole day's work or 2 days' work. So good job, Mike. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, and this may come down the road when it does actually happen, I know that, you know, a system, the average life system is like 50 years. With the new products that are out there, it'd be interesting to find out the products that they're going to put in with the life expectancy. And of course, like I say, you can't answer that now, but that would be something that maybe council may want to know, you know, when this actually comes to work.
I'm anticipating it's gonna be PVC, C900, and it's a poly pipe, and actually, the lifespan hasn't been figured out yet, because it's still, since they started using it, it's good pipe.
Yeah, and like I said, PVC has only been around for the last about 30 years.
Right.
So we don't really know what the actual true life is.
Correct.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some failures of the real thin stuff, but the heavier stuff and the newer pipe might
Right.
be longer than that, so. Okay. All right, thank you.
Go ahead. As a matter of clarification, we're talking about doing the city's part, so to speak, the part in the streets. Okay, and when when water service goes to individual houses? That'll come out in the engineering, but, it will probably do from the tap from the main to the stop box.
Okay.
Which is generally the shut off right outside at the curb.
Understood.
From there in
It's
is.
the owner's response, as one would
Correct.
logically expect.
Correct.
And the reason I'm asking the question is just for, we're live, and just for everyone could better understand what's going to happen to their house. We're not gonna have the city dig up your lawn and fix your water line. That's not exactly what you're gonna get, right?
Right.
And that's gonna be a lot of questions that people will be asking.
What we're doing is the part that traditionally the city would be responsible.
Well, yes and no. Traditionally, by ordinance, it's the homeowner's responsibility all the way to the main.
Gotcha.
But since we've got this project going, we wanna take it at least to the stop box.
Benevolent as we are.
Mr. Mayor.
Get the street done so we don't tear it up again.
Which begs the next question is, I had many folks say, well, what are you doing about fixing the streets and the potholes? And I said, we're getting there. We gotta do this other stuff first.
Yes.
I just have one more question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, tonight. Do we as a city, like the staff, know exactly, like on these water lines that are on Main Street or sewer lines, like when we had that major break over here and we thought maybe it was 20 feet down and it was only 4 feet down? Do we as a city have a kind of a visual idea of those water lines, how deep they are on Main Street?
Yes. Yes, we do.
They're
We
not,
have-
some
we have
not 20
mapping.
feet down.
Well, the sewers are.
Sewers are,
Water is 4 to 5 feet.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
4 feet.
And we have,
Plenty.
we have old mapping. We lost a lot of mapping
Right.
in 1980 when City Hall burned down, but we've been rebuilding and
That's great.
it's good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Probably the weak point with newer water mains is the valves, because they're still metal.
Yeah.
So they will age faster than plastic pipe.
Do those have to, oh, excuse me, one more question. Do those have to have backflow valves, everything that goes in there too? Into those businesses or?
That would be internal to the businesses, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If there's no other questions, call roll please.
Donato?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 7C, consideration of bid results for the clubhouse repairs. We had one bidder for $115,055.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of
Could we
council.
please have a motion to approve first?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
As you saw in the council communication, this is a result of the accident that occurred at the golf course where a gentleman ran into the building and we thought it was minor repairs, and we started looking in Sursa, as we spoke of earlier, came down with an engineering staff and did a complete assessment of the damage, resulting in the prints that we got from them, the suggested repairs, historical buildings, as I said, the non-reinforced masonry structure. We don't know what we're getting into. We still don't know until we open the walls up. And, this is the repairs that get going. It looked innocent from the outside, but when you got inside, it was not quite so much.
Questions from council, Mr. Donato?
No, sir, I don't.
Ms. Miles?
Sometimes Sursa is covering this.
Yes,
is that correct? Okay, but it does affect our loss experience and stuff. Sometimes when we get one bid, we rebid it. Does that not make sense here?
It does and it doesn't. We had several companies look at this, but several of them, most of them walked away. They didn't want to have too much to do with it. We talked about rebidding it. We actually even asked Sursa what they thought we should do. They accepted the bid as is. We were afraid if we did go out to rebid, it would probably increase.
So Sursa's engineer or adjuster thinks this is reasonable?
Yes, the adjuster, not the engineer. The engineer was Western Engineering Research Council, the ERC, and they were just consultants. They really had nothing to do with the choice of companies or price.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I read it correctly, and I think I did, they have 90 days to complete this project per the contract, is that correct?
Yeah.
And for every day they go beyond, that's a $500?
I think it's a $250.
Or $250, I'm sorry?
Yes, I believe it's $250. I'd have to look.
Something like that. Now, do they feel like it's gonna take more than 90 days to complete that project?
My conversations with them have been somewhat limited, excuse me, and they have not mentioned that, so I think they're comfortable with the 90 days. They're usually in and out pretty well. I've worked with these guys before, but in a different scenario.
It is 250. Excuse me.
250? Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
that's correct.
Yeah, so-
No, I see it right there, okay, I must have inverted a number in my mind.
Ms. Spencer?
What about the gentleman that was driving the automobile, his insurance company?
That is the Sursa, that's what we've talked about. Craig Stevens, our representative from Sursa, says they will go after him, and it may be like getting blood out of a turnip. He'll pay $1.47 a month for the rest of his life to get back to, because he had the minimum of liability insurance.
Was that 50,000 or something like that?
15?
That's what we've heard, we don't know. That's the scope. I'm not sure.
Damage pretty much contained to that west wall around the fireplace, correct?
until we get in it.
The west wall,
Yeah.
because there
What
are
I said,
cracks.
did I not say west?
Well, west wall around the fireplace.
Gotcha.
There's cracks that radiate up from the fireplace.
And until we start working on it, who knows?
You can actually see if you've been inside where the fireplace, the outside, like I said, there's the phone box is right there. And it looks like you push the phone box a little bit. You go inside, it looks like the fireplace actually has shifted 4 inches and went back. It actually sprung back. The bricks fell down to the inside of the fireplace. We've already had one contractor go up and remove the chimney above the parapet wall to make it safer. We've got chain link around, if you've seen that, we don't know what we're gonna find when we open it up.
It's a surprise. Thank you.
Good. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Can we have first and a second, call vote please?
Bernardo,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 7D, approval of drug testing policy for employees, subject to pipeline and hazardous materials safety administration. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
do we have any information for us? You're stalling.
I will. Maybe go up there. Good evening, council. So I'm sure this was just very intriguing reading. You had to look at it. So anyway, this policy has been in effect from the federal government at least since 2005. It was amended in 2011, and here we are in 2017. So we definitely need to get on board. Basically what it is a policy that says anyone that's involved in a gas call, has anything to do with a gas leak situation, needs to be drug tested. So obviously our utility guys are already in the drug testing pool that we have with Procom, and we do random drug testing on a quarterly basis. But now this involves a few more people. So now it's come inside this building basically. So anyone who answers the phone to take a gas leak call now falls into a separate little pool and will be subject to random drug testing on a quarterly basis. So sometimes you're called in and you have to do an alcohol test. Other times you're called in and you have to do drug and alcohol. But that's what it is. So basically anyone in City Hall that answers the phone, which will include the clerk cashiers downstairs. It includes mostly everyone on the second floor, and then of course the dispatchers and the communications director of the PD.
Okay, right, questions from council?
What would be the consequence on, what would happen to say like, I don't know, just example, Donna, that maybe one of our employees, alcohol or something like that. Does that employee automatically get terminated, or are they put on a, can I ask that question?
Yes, you can. We had a little bit of a discussion about that today. So it kind of varies a little bit with the job, with their job responsibilities. So if you're talking about a CDL driver, that's one thing, because that probably could very well lead to termination of their job duties at that point. But for someone else who doesn't have job responsibilities like that, of course the city through our medical insurance has employee assistance programs, and so there would absolutely be a reprimand of some kind for, at the very least you would be sent home for the day. So you, but there are programs then in place that that employee can go through, so it doesn't have to be the termination of a job at that point.
Thank you.
Ms. Miles?
No questions.
How does everyone feel about that in the office?
It's a little mixed.
Since you're implementing a drug testing policy on yourselves.
Right, right. It was a little mixed. I mean, there were some people who, yeah, whatever. Others weren't too crazy about it, but it's going to have to be, it is going to be written into the job descriptions. It's going to have to be a requirement for positions now that if you answer the phone, you have to have this drug testing.
And if we, for some reason, did not apply to this, would we be sanctioned from any federal monies or anything like that?
Ooh, I don't think we get sanctioned for federal monies, but if there was an instance where there was a gas leak and, you know, obviously.
More liability issue.
Yeah, it would be bad if there were people involved that they were found out later that tested that were positive for drugs or alcohol.
Okay.
It would be a liability for us.
If someone answered the phone and wasn't drug tested and didn't respond really quickly, there'd be questions raised.
Or if they got the wrong address or something like that.
And it may have nothing to do with whether they're under the influence, but it raises enough question that our liability increases.
That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Fletcher.
I have worked in situations where we have random drug testing. The state patrol does it. And every once in a while, your number comes up, you go take your test. You know, that's just, you don't live in fear. But given the magnitude of the responsibilities, to your point, Councilman, about what they do, certainly it's a good thing. It keeps people on their toes.
Questions that I have, it mentions in here that if an employee's name is called, they've got 30 minutes to get, excluding travel time. They need to be escorted by someone else from the job site to the testing facility or wherever it goes. What happens in the case of, we have emergency repairs out there, that's in the middle of the day, and these guys are in the middle of an emergency repair, and their number comes up. How is that going to be handled? Do they have that? We waive that 30 minutes?
Yeah, I've never had a situation,
Yeah.
I've never had a situation like that happen. We don't typically get our random drug testings when the guys are on job, so I guess we could implement that. We've not ever done that before.
It's just a thought that that could happen.
Usually you go through a rescheduling process. It's the same thing as if somebody was off work that day and their name got pulled. But it would have to be a blind rescheduling where there's no way for them to know ahead of time when it would occur.
Right, and we have, when we get our list, our random list for that, we have a period of time to do that. It doesn't have to be done that day.
No.
We get a period of time, it's a month or 6 weeks or something like that. And so if that happens, sometimes I call and the guys are off on vacation that day or something, and so then I just have to reschedule.
Do we have someone that is going to be trained to obtain the urine samples in-house?
No, they all go through Clark Chiropractic, does all of our drug tests.
Because it almost sounded like it might be done.
Right, I know it does read,
That's what it
yeah,
sounded
no,
like.
but no, that's done.
How are prescription medications handled? These guys that may have some prescription medications that they're taking?
They need to acknowledge that information when they go in for the drug testing with Clark Chiropractic.
With the doctor.
And let them know that they are on whatever medication.
Would that be something that maybe they should, if they have something serious going on with them, that they report it to their director and they report it back to you saying, I'm on Percocet or something for it?
And most of that stuff, we would prefer that they deal with that with Clark Chiropractic, just because they have the stuff. I don't really want to know.
I just didn't know how they handle that. Because they've got to, somehow that's got to be
It would have to be taken into,
But to your point, DUID statutes with regard to driving do not exclude prescription drugs. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be under the influence of heroin in order to be charged with driving under the influence of drugs. When I had my knee surgery, I was precluded from driving for 5 months, or for 5 days. Not so much because of the injury, but because of the medication that I was on. And that's just what you have to do.
Mayor, council members, if I could please, on page 20 of the agreement, they say substances for which testing must be conducted, and it lists marijuana, cocaine, opiates, phencyclidine, which is PCP, and amphetamines. So if one is under doctor's care for opiates, that would be an exception.
But
Mushrooms
are okay?
Yes, yes. I like the record of no, just kidding. That's right. Yeah, right.
Okay, I got one more question. It says in there about a computer-based selection system for pulling random tested individuals. Do we have, is that something that we do, or is that something that Clark Chiropractic has?
No, we have a separate company, Procom, and they are the ones that we send our all of our employees that need to be tested either for CDL or for now this, and they put them into a pool and they do the random selections and send them to you.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was something that we have to participate in and get our own computer-based system or whatever. So that was
Procom does that for us.
Okay, good.
Generally, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Generally, the pool selected is larger for alcohol and much smaller for drugs. So I think it's
usually only
considerably higher for alcohol.
Yes. Yes, there's only 1 to 2 per quarter that have to get tested for mold.
I just have one question, and just the alternative here is just the council could elect not to approve this policy, however, we would be in violation of federal law. I
So
think
I'm not
that's just telling you
recommending
bingo, yeah. Huh?
Enough with the questions.
Well, dispensaries are in violation.
Well, I know, but still,
Okay, thank you.
got to pass it.
Okay, we have first and a second on the approval of drug testing policy for employees. Roll call vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei,
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 7E, consideration of bid results for water treatment plant roof replacement. That was Paradiso Exteriors for $33,607. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay,
Council, Mayor and members of council, the roof at the water treatment plant has not been replaced in 30 years. We kinda didn't wanna move forward when we started the rehab of the treatment facility. Now that we've completed everything, we need to get a good roof on. Mr. Ramirez, our treatment supervisor up there, went out to bid. He got 3. They're in your packet. 2 bid the same as he requested. 1 bid a kind of a mock-down system. So it's our recommendation that we go with Paradiso in that amount.
questions?
Not for me.
I have a question. Was this building not applicable for the hailstorms that occurred last year?
No, this is up at
Oh, it's Stonewall. Okay, I thought.
No, good water.
Good one.
Good
Okay.
water.
Proper one.
Never mind.
Mr. Bernard.
No, sir.
Okay. One thing I want to make sure of is that when we, such as this, with any time we go out, are they vetted pretty well? With past experiences with what they're going to be putting down?
I'm gonna say that on this one, I'm going with Mr. Ramirez's recommendations. Paradiso is, Triple P has done roofs for the city before, but that was in, I was here previous in the late 90s, so, yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're getting, good quality work. This is something I'm not sure how. I'll get that.
I'll take that under consideration and watch very closely.
Okay. Okay, we have a first and a second on the water treatment plant roof replacement to Paradisa Exteriors for $33,607. Call the vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei,
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes.
Thank you.
Council reports. Mr. Bernard.
I just have a couple things to report on. Saturday when I went down to the farmer's market, so many people were down there. I mean, it was packed. You could barely walk in the park, and everybody was having a good time. I noticed the 4-H had a little bin down there. The autism board had a little thing selling burritos and stuff like that. It was a good time.
burritos.
Excellent. Everybody was having such a good time down there. I mean, like Mrs. Billpot down there, I went to go get me some goat cheese. She already sold out. I mean, everybody was seeming like they were having a great time. The vendors were happy. The music was playing. I mean, the kids were running around, and it's really exciting to see that happen. I mean, we gotta give our farmers market a big round of applause, and everybody that goes down there and sells things and does a lot of things for the city of Trinidad. They deserve a big hand. And the other thing I only have to say is that I attended a CML meeting with Mr. Matei, Mrs. Fletcher, Carlos, and our mayor.
No, me.
And Michelle. And, I'll let them explain what was happening, but that was a very good meeting that I that was the first CML meeting that I attended, and it was good to hear what a lot of things are going down, like from Pueblo down to southern Colorado here. We talked about Starkville, we talked about Levita, we talked about Pueblo, and it was wonderful. So, and I thanks the city, and everybody was there, but most of the city staff, Audra and them, Donna, and it was very interesting. We had a good dinner, and I'll just let the mayor take over and say what he has to say on that. So,
Sean?
Sure. I went to CML as well. It was nice meeting Lee Merkel, and she has a really impressive list of credentials, and I got a chance to speak with her at length. And I just really hope that we're off to a good relationship there. I also want to mention, we got on the trolley. It was my first time on the trolley. Fabulous. I mean, really, to the tourism board and everyone involved in getting that trolley, it is so much better. It is light years better, and it reflects well on the city of Trinidad. We took the trolley to the art car garage, and I hadn't been there. I'm telling everyone, if you haven't been, you got to go, because it's going to be closing in maybe less than a month. It's one thing, yeah, I was talking with my friend Carol Cometa, and I said, you got to go to the garage before it closes. She goes, oh, I saw all the cars in the parade. It's not the same. Because you can spend as much time as you want on one car, you can walk around it, you can get up close, you can see the craftsmanship that goes into these things. And they were just really, I could spend easily an hour there, and I'm not a car person, but it's more art than car, of course. But I highly recommend that anyone who hasn't been there, go. I think they have to be out of the building on November 1st, so sometime in advance of that, I would think at least 2 weeks, they're going to be shut. So, also further to what Mr. Bonado said, when I first moved to Trinidad, I'll just say I thought the farmer's market was underwhelming. And I said, well, maybe it's because I'm from a larger city and a little more vibrant. That farmer's market was rocking on Saturday. It really was. And it was just so much fun because there was also a real sense of community. You'd move 5 feet and you'd see somebody that you hadn't seen in 2 weeks. And then you'd move another 5 feet and you'd get into some clutch. And everyone was obviously ecstatic about Chaffin. Also, for the first time, I went to 3 events in one day in Trinidad. I mean, that's remarkable as well. You know, I went to the farmer's market, and then I went to music and a cookout in the courtyard at Tease and Treat Me. Pat and I went, and then we followed on with Farragosi, the Farragosi Fest. They had fire twirlers and really good band and old time sort of arcade games. I'll let Pat describe her score. She won the ring toss game.
Nobody ever wins the ring toss.
But anyway, it's just a sign of vibrance in this community, and that's all I got.
I too had a great Saturday. I too did 3 events. The farmers market again was phenomenal. I went to the meeting with the Coalition for the Homeless Situation, which I thought was sometimes not more driven towards solutions, but more just towards venting. Hopefully, if they have another one, it can be more solution-driven, not just going about what previous experience had been. But there were some, I thought the woman that was actually homeless was the one person that should have been there.
She was here tonight.
I know, and I was very impressed and proud of her, even though she was very nervous, but I was very impressed with her, and I think she did have, the best point of view. Then for us to make decisions for them, we need people's input like that. And then third, I went to the Farragosi Fest, which was a very great, event. They had the darts and balloons. I won 3 little toys. There were children there because it was a family-friendly event, which I was very proud of, considering that it was hosted by one of our local dispensaries. But I was very proud of them for putting money back into our community to do an event like that. And the music was phenomenal. The bands were great. I thought it was top-notch. There were a lot of local food vendors, which kept me satisfied. And that's what I had for this past Saturday.
But a personal thank you to Craig Hickson.
Definitely. I wasn't told, he must have spent quite a bit of money, just $10,000 alone on the music. Just on the music. So he told his staff, hey, hope you enjoy your own personal party. because I felt that it was underattended, and I hope next year people show up in more of a drove fashion, because he's putting a lot of his money back into our community to give us something to do, so people can't say there's nothing to do in Trinidad. We need to help him by supporting as well.
Okay, thank you.
Also, let me point out, Farragosi Farmers, the fest was totally 100% for charity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was admirable, I think. Well, where did you win the toys, and which throw?
At the balloon darts.
Oh, okay. Mine was the ring.
I got to dunk the clown too, just talking trash.
I didn't see that. Really?
Oh yeah, you got it good.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Oh, geez, a couple of things. The Citizens Action Committee on Saturday talking about the homeless situation, I thought was worth the time to discuss, but a lot of it was on theory and philosophy. Action is what the next step needs to be. ACTS is kind of broke. There's no money in that program for people that come to town, the truly destitute. In some way or another, I'd like to see that maybe beefed up. And kind of along that line, we talked at previous meetings about maybe we need to have that on an agenda at some point, the homelessness in Trinidad. Do we still agree on that?
At some point, I think we probably we'll have to have a work session of some sort.
Okay, can we schedule that like soon?
I would hope within like a month.
Within a month maybe to talk about that?
Our librarian is supposed to be researching a report and plans to give it in the near future.
And she is, and she says she's got a little bit more time that she's got to have on that research, but yeah.
I will make note of that.
We had Tim Chrisler and myself, Tim from Parks and Rec, sat in on a meeting at COG with CDOT, talking about the expansion of Highway 12 to accommodate bikes, have a bike lane, and possibly off the highway. The old railroad up to the mine came into the discussion. That might be something to not have it just strictly on Highway 12, but to have turnoffs to other paths for bike riding. The idea is to go from Trinidad all the way up Highway of Legends, through Kachaya, through La Vida, and come out at Walsenburg, do a loop, come back the same way. So I think the money, as I understood it, what they're looking for now is to have a study of the feasibility of it. So that's where they're at.
That's all private land, isn't it, that?
Yeah, and that could be CDOT said that's they fully understand that, and that would be working the negotiations. The commissioners that were there, what do you feel about having another breakfast meeting with them in the near future?
I think one of the things we want to wait probably until after the first of the year to see who the new chairperson is, because they will probably more than likely change. And one of the things that I want to do is contact whoever the new chairperson is and kind of set an agenda and move forward with that.
Okay, because they were kind of indicating they would like to have one, because we haven't had one in so long.
Well, it could be done soon. We'll take it.
Okay. What else? Hometown holidays, the parade of lights. I've been going to those meetings, and hopefully that's going to be beefed up this year to kind of make that, conversation over the summer was we should have more events like we had with Trinidadio and Arcade and things where there's something happening every month. I think that it has real possibilities of being expanded. That parade of lights, there's always people at that parade of lights. Every year that's well attended. And 2 women have been running that by themselves for quite some time. And it's time they get help maybe and a little bit more funding.
That sounded like a political statement there.
Well, I'd like to see it be what it could be.
I got you.
Okay. And I think that is, tourism board is kind of having a little, I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been able to do stuff for a while. Tourism board is kind of having their discussions maybe on focusing a little bit different than what they have been. Now you can talk.
You know what Pat said. I was at the farmer's market and I shared Councilman Bernardo's enthusiasm for the event, as he described.
I also attended the homeless meeting on the 16th, whatever it was. That's like writing a junior high term paper on drugs. It's a huge, huge problem. And I think Trinidad can do what Trinidad can do for its part of the problem. But it's massive, it's overwhelming, it's a national problem. It's an international problem, having seen panhandlers and homeless people in Rome between the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel. But that point having been made, to Carlos's point, it did speak with a lot of venting, a lot of frustration, a lot of rehashing of the problem. We know that. But what is within our power and our possibility to do things? I know frequently the idea of the convent comes up, but when we have the only church, the only Catholic church in the community that is in dire need of so much repair, I can't imagine that the diocese would be willing to invest in a convent when the church needs so much work.
They're not. And I understand that, but
wait, I don't mean to be argumentative,
No,
but
no,
let me finish my story. Okay, and beyond that, not to start that debate, CML meeting. CML was an excellent opportunity to meet with representatives from Pueblo, Vida. I don't recall that Walsenburg was there. No. But even Starkville was there. Mayor Crick had such a outstanding presentation. The town of Starkville has so many good things going on there. It was unbelievable. And the point is, the enthusiasm and the forward-thinking momentum that the city of Trinidad seems to be riding is permeating out into the surrounding communities, certainly Starkville. And it was good to know that everyone is riding a high, as it is, so to speak, so that we are making things happen for our citizens to the betterment of all. And that having been said, I'm not quite as ambitious as Pat is, I guess, to be out and about, but here we are. Thank you.
I got a few things. We forgot to mention last meeting about the Labor Day Parade. The Labor Day Parade again, I'm sure it was 100, how many Labor Day parades have we had? 120, something like that. But anyway, we've had quite a few, and just like every year, it's a success. And thanks to everyone who participated in putting on that event.
And our apologies for not mentioning that last week. Thank you.
Also, we had Arlocate a week and a half ago. That was also another successful event. Continues to grow, and I drove another car, and it was the Ivan, and it was kind of interesting, the comments as I was driving down. This kid runs up to me and says, "I want my back." You know, just crazy comments like that. It was just a lot of fun. He said, "What? I want my back." You know, so things like that. It was kind of cool. So everyone, congratulations to everyone who were involved in the planning in those events. There again, more events for our community, the better. And they're all successful. That's what's really great about it. On September the 7th, I attended the CML Mayor Summit in Denver. We heard about the state budget. The Lieutenant Governor gave the opening speech. It was interesting to listen to her. We also listened to the JBC's chairperson. She kind of gave us a rundown of how the state budget operates. It was pretty interesting, and what they're up against, and so it was interesting. Unfortunately, I was not able to stay for the Friday event because on Friday I met early in the morning with the Dana Copper Group at what's the name of that place?
Union
At Union Station, and by my forgetting, I really want to forget having to try to find a parking place there. It's horrible to find a parking place there. In that afternoon, I had another meeting because as part of the Southwest Chief and Amtrak, we met at the CDOT office, had a 2-hour meeting with them. That was my first meeting, and that is going to be quite an intensive discussion over the next several years. It's going to take billions of dollars to try to make this thing come to fruition. One of the things that did come out of it, and I also listened in on Saturday, by the way, was it last no Saturday? I can't remember what it was, Wednesday. They had a call in, actually it was last Wednesday. And what it is I think last year, maybe before last, when they did the Tiger 7 grant, I think council appropriated $12,500 for the grant, and they're asking us for some more money to be part of our investment, and that is something I'm going to talk to Greg about, and I want to talk to Mr. Pace And I think that we may be able to, if it would enhance our possibility of continuing that service down here by putting in additional money, I think we need to consider that. But that's something that I'll bring forward in the near future, because we do have to appropriate some funds by the end of October. We don't have to expend those funds, but we need to appropriate that money, because that, unless that Tiger 9 grant, that's the money that's gonna be going it for, that's the grant. If it's passed, that is when they will be asking for the money. So it may not be till after the first of the year. So I'll bring that forward later on. On Tuesday, the 12th, I attended the Colorado Health Foundation meeting at Mont Carmel. Just interesting to listen to some of the health issues that are across the state. Colorado Health and Foundation, I found out was interesting, is they are also involved in housing. They do provide grants and loans to housing projects. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned that to Miss Marshall to keep that in her hat. And I've got to give you the lady's name and her card in case we do need it in the near future. Last night, attended the CML regional meeting. Sam Mamet was down here. He's the director of CML. He was very impressed. It was kind of cool that all of our table settings, they gave us a picture of something that went on in Trinidad in the years past. And we were all able to take them home. So that was kind of neat. I thought that was kind of a nice gesture that, who did that? Was it Starkville that did that?
Starkville, that's right.
So they did that, so that was kind of neat to take something, a little memento home from years past. After we toured the Artocade Museum, Sam Mamet, he was, I've seen him multiple times, and I've never seen him so excited about something. Actually, there was a lady there that was taking pictures for him, and he told me that he wants to take and put some Artocade pictures. I guess they have like a periodical that comes out, and he wants to put it on front page. So we'll see if that happens. It'll give a big boost to Artocade in the near future. After, I think the first one will come out after the first of the year, I think is what he was saying. So it'll be a good plug in the hat for Artocade. Today I also attended the U.S. Patent and Trademark meeting that was here. That was just some information. I think ED might be able to use some of that information down the road. When Jonathan gets back, I'll kind of talk to him a little bit and give him cards. And even the school districts can gain from some of the information I talked to him about today. So the last thing I wanted to mention is, this was mentioned to me actually by my wife. We talked about some of the stuff that goes on in the meetings, you know, what we've talked about tonight, like on, and we talked about when the bids come out. And she said, you know, it'd be a good idea if maybe the newspapers would post the bidders for some of these projects out there, rather than say, so-and-so got a bid for $200,000. But list maybe all the bidders. I'm not sure if that's something that might be a good idea. That way the public would know that we had, you know, 3 bidders or 6 bidders or whatever. And this is how they were selected, and maybe the reason why they were selected. So that's something that maybe we might, you can work with the newspapers on. That was all I have. Reports by city manager.
I forgot one thing.
Sure.
I mean, 2 things. Our chamber luncheon is tomorrow afternoon at noon. I don't know, Jack, who's putting that on? Do you know? The speaker?
I think the hospital is.
The hospital?
Peaks Behavioral Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's pretty interesting.
Krista Hospice and Palliative.
Okay. And also on Thursday, myself and Mr. Sun and I think Mr. Rico's going up to Fort Carson to visit with the Army up there again. There's going to be a little translation of talk between the Army and hopefully Trinidad Good News. And so I'm looking forward to going and that. Those are the 2 things I forgot to speak about. So thank you very much.
Mr. Sun.
How many of you are planning to attend the ARPA meeting next week?
That's Monday at 10 a.m.?
No.
It's in the
8:30.
evening, there's a dinner, I think, is
Yeah,
that?
Wednesday night dinner
The 27th.
at Bricks at 6:30, and then Thursday's the actual meeting. We're gonna get to go for a drive on the trolley as well that morning. The meeting starts at 10 though. but if you wanna go on that trolley ride, it's at 8:30 in Mount Carmel.
Can I just mention something? These meetings go till about 3 o'clock, so you might want to just pop in if you're going. I mean, you can, but if you're not versed on the subjects, and a lot of them are an update from last meeting, it's gonna be.
I may try to pop in at least for an hour for the meeting.
Yeah, I
just
think that'd be good.
What time does the meeting start?
We usually do executive session up front, and I'm sure if you get you all invited into executive session, you can get updates on the various lawsuits.
And
That might be the most interesting part of the meeting.
And Wednesday evening,
Yeah, we need to know how many of you would like to have us registered for the dinner.
I will be there on Wednesday, but not on Thursday.
What time?
6:30.
And where is it?
Bricks.
Bricks.
Oh, don't be down too.
I'll be there.
I
You
can't be
said you
there, my
can't.
wife's gonna be in her hip replaced, but I wanna say congratulations to
Thank you.
Michelle
Thank you, Jeff.
for getting her special award.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
We're working fast and furious on the budget, and balancing it has been a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting there. So it's been a good process. With that Highway 12 study, one thing I was very surprised to learn yesterday is that the right-of-way for Highway 12 ranges from 30 feet wide to 80 feet wide. There's places where it's literally the width of the pavement. And so if we want to do a bike trail on there, we're gonna end up probably having to acquire quite a bit of right-of-way in different places. So the CDOT applied for a grant that will help us dramatically with this. We received one grant that, with the local match, I think it's $350,000 or something. And then CDOT got another one for $750,000. And where that will help us is by doing that study, we'll be able to identify the corridor, we'll be able to identify whether there's an environmental assessment necessary, whatever cultural resources they might run into, and that will help us long-term, however many years it takes to develop this trail, we would have that background work done and not have to redo it at any time in the future. So it's a good investment at this point.
To your point on the width and the suitability for Highway 12, it does need a lot of work. In my previous experiences, Ride the Rockies originated in Trinidad up over and around and all of the Colorado mountain passes. And then we had Race Across America. In both of those individual races, I had occasion to investigate fatal accidents of bike riders, just because of the complications of that particular road. One of them out by the Bolton Mines, and the other one out on 160 west of Wilson.
That happened during the races.
During the race. One was a 15-year-old kid, and the other one was a cardiologist, Dr. Breedlove.
Because there's a lot of blind corners on that
There are.
road too.
And there's no shoulders in some spots.
One
a lot of
fatality in each race.
I dropped a motorcycle once. This is my first.
That's all.
Mayor, council members, just a couple of things. One is I want to let you know that union negotiations are progressing nicely. We have had several meetings with general services, fire department, and the police department. And again, union negotiations are going along quite well. You've probably seen the marijuana bus in Trinidad, and I know that came up a little bit earlier. That's kind of going, is really going. And I want to first of all say, of course, that has nothing to do with the city, not to be confused with a trolley or anything like that. But we did meet with a couple of the people who are responsible for the marijuana bus and what they're doing. A number of city officials talked to them, and we were asked to basically give our official blessing as city officials in the marijuana bus and what it's doing and where it's going. And of course, we were unable to do that. I mean, it's really in another gray area of law. And so while what they're doing is not illegal, it isn't really especially legal either. But all the concerns of council, like the partition between driver and passengers, all that has been done, and all the was there a question?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But all those concerns were addressed, and they really are taking this seriously and have a good game plan in terms of what they are doing. One other thing, and that is Councilman Matei had a question about CIRSA and how things go when we have a claim, especially that results in litigation. And I do want to let you know that we are not billed for their attorney time. You're certainly, of course, not billed when they in any way have anything to do with me. Of course, I'm a salaried employee, so none of that is billed, but all of that is included in any claim, all the legal work and everything we do and the outstanding attorneys that CIRSA provides us with. One just point though of clarification, and that is breach of contract matters are not included in our insurance policy. And so like when we did have the really extensive ARPA litigation that involved the city of Trinidad a number of years ago, that was not included in CIRSA, and that was something, the legal fees had to be borne directly by the city of Trinidad. But anyway, that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, not motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I'd like to point out that Councilor Downs is wearing a tie that is blue and orange. It's not. Stand and be recognized.
Oh, I will not, sir. Just kidding.
Okay, motion. Take that back. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes. Yes.
Freudian, don't you think?
That's right.
You're a closet worshiper.
The
more upset you get, the more target you become.
I know.
For that.
Shows up every once in a while.
Not yet.
They spend a lot of money to go on all these things. I like it because I have the money program of all these different locations in Baltimore, Atlanta, Las Vegas.
He doesn't put that on the cover, he put the car on the
That's nice. For the thing we went to a couple of years ago.
I thought that was that's cool.
When you get very nice, you better see if you can take cameras Thursday. Cameras Thursday, do
I'm
yourself.
trying. I talked to Dee the other night.
Carol,
I know.